There's an Impractical Jokers where it's something very much like that. Like they have him pose as like an expert in quantum physics or something on a panel.
Yes, that's hilarious.
And like they're asking him these questions, and he's just trying to like, well, the thing about that is I could take it or leave it, frankly. Like
they're asking him shit like, what do you think about the new study out of Harvard showing the neutrino field is actually a bit thicker and more robust than we thought before, and the implications on that? And he's like, yeah, the thing about that, don't get me started on neutrinos. I'll go all day. He's just
got to bullshit his way through it. And they're like, no, but could you specifically? like, if you had to, because you do, choose one.
I'm so glad you're watching a bunch of Impractical Jokers now. That is such a funny show.
I'm really enjoying it. I noticed that the things they usually fail on is when they have to say something mean to a stranger. That's what they have a hard time with. The awkwardness they can usually pull out. But I remember like there was a black woman came into a checkout line, and she had this ridiculous wig on that made her look like James Brown. And they told him to say, "Oh wow, it's the Godfather of Soul," and he was just like, "Hello, ma'am, how are you tonight?" They like fail.
That's what's so good about it. Like that's why their prank show succeeded where a bunch of others failed, is because they make themselves the butt of the joke.
Yeah,
and the thing that makes them the most uncomfortable is like what insulting a random person. Like they'll make themselves the ass, the butt of the joke all day. But the second you ask them to like make another person the butt of the joke, they all get very uncomfortable. They don't.
Yeah, they don't like doing it. I saw one where they're driving a taxi or something, and this black lady is in the back seat, and she's telling a story, and they're like, roll down both of her windows mid conversation as they're driving down the road. He does it. He doesn't really think much of it. He goes, now say, I thought I heard you crack a rat back there. So I rolled him down, and he's just like, thought I heard you crack. Thought I heard you crack a rat back there, so I rolled him down. Like it's so painful for him to get out. Like
it's dude, the one of the most uncomfortable punishments I've ever seen on that show is when Q, the heavier guy, one of the heavier guys,
they're all fat.
His punishment is he has to teach an art class to a bunch of children, and the kids are painting their little art. They're children.
Flowers
and his punishment is he thought it was going to have to be to teach the art class, and then they're like, you can't leave until you paint a red X on every single kid's painting in that room. And so these kids are like working on cats. They're like 6 years old, and he has to like paint over it in the big red X.
So what it was, they said, okay, look at this little girl's painting of the flower. It's like, yeah, it's pretty good. Tell her it's great, but not good enough. And then exit out. And he's like, no, I can't do it. They're like, all right, that means you fail this episode. Your punishment, a red X on every child's photo. And he's just like, fuck.
And he gets to like one 12-year-old who's like seen him do the red X to 5 other people, and she's like, don't you paint a red X on mine. Don't paint a red X on my photo. And he's like dipping it in like it's so uncomfortable.
That is a light
it's hilarious
compared to the tattoos.
They're in front of their parents.
Compared to the
mother,
tattoos, true. Like but it's so uncomfortable. All the mothers are there.
The tattoos, the piercings. They made the one Italian guy get those diamond studs in his ears. That was pretty nuts. Yeah, it's a good show. I've enjoyed it a lot. It's on HBO if anybody wants to watch it. You can like popcorn through like 3 episodes like so fast. It's a good show. I saw one.
It's very funny.
One of the bits they did, they had these running gags sometimes that are really good. So essentially, they did this thing where one of them climbed on a statue in New York, and I guess it's a federal statue, and it's like minor league trouble, right? Like a little fine or something.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they told him that he had to go to some proceedings, and so he goes there and meets with an actress posing as a government official at a courthouse in New York, and she is super bitchy. She's like, "We're escalating this. You knew you were trespassing. You just said it on camera to me, sir. You just told me to my face you knew you were trespassing."
Yeah.
And then they go 1 week later. The bit's still going. And they show up and like pull their permits, not just for what they're doing that day, but for the entire city of New York, which would pretty much fuck their show. They're like,
Yeah.
that woman is pulling our permits citywide, all of us, anything. And they're just melting down. And then they turn around and there she is, like laughing her ass off at him. It's they go really in depth with their gags.
It
It's
is
a good
it
show.
is so fucking funny. I love Impractical Jokers.